I was double checking. Well, I don't really have anything. I'm just answering them, so should I? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah? Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch and enjoyed your morning sessions. This afternoon, and to start off with, I'd like to introduce you to Professor Alex Parker and Dr. Michaela Pascoe. Alex is the Executive Director of VU's Institute for Health and Sport. As a Professor of Physical Activity and Mental Health, Alex's research examines the role of movement in preventing and treating mental health concerns. Her research is mainly in youth mental health, and she's also a practicing clinical psychologist. Alex is involved in research to support the mental well-being of VU students and is a member of the VU Student Mental Health Strategy Reference Group. Michaela is a senior research fellow in the Institute of Health and Sport, Victoria University. Her research expertise is in mental health, mindfulness, physical activity, stress, and science communication. She explores the impact of stress on mental health and the influence of mindfulness and physical activity exercise on the brain and well-being, including in populations of female athletes. Please join me in welcoming Alex and Michaela. Now, did I miss anything off your bios? Because they were both quite long.
Thank you. I know. We'll have to absolutely cut it down for next time. Sorry about that, everyone. There's a little more formal than what we anticipated. But thanks so much for having us today, and it's such a pleasure to be here. And what we thought we might do is a little bit of a mix of some practical strategies that you can do to look after your physical and mental well-being, give you a little bit of information about why we know these things work, and then finish with a brief sort of self-compassion meditation as well. So like with everything that we offer or do or share, some people like these things, some people don't. Some it takes a little bit more practice to get used to doing such things. So we don't expect, if you don't want to join in, that is absolutely fine. You could sit here and have a vague out, which is just as good for mindfulness activities as well. So, but just participate in whatever level you wish to do. But we thought we would start with something that's really useful, and we noticed last year, particularly when we were working remotely on our computers all the time, and some of the programs that we did through VU 11s with our students and also with our staff, was regularly making that connection between the mind and the body. So we thought we'd start with a practical demonstration of some simple yoga stretches that you can do when you're sitting at your desk. And Michaela is very kindly going to sit up and lead you through them as I talk you through what to do. But just to make sure, I'm just going to move that slightly so I can read off the screen. Just a very brief disclaimer that if you do have any pre-existing medical conditions or if any of the movements start to feel uncomfortable, please stop. Okay. So we'll start with a wrist and finger stretch. So if you follow Michaela, and you just sit up straight in your chair, and you can put your right arm out in front of you, like you're pushing something away with your palm, and then keeping the arm straight, flip the hand down, and then with your left hand, just gently hold onto your fingers and pull them back in towards you. So you should feel a nice stretch down your forearm, just nice and gently. So keep your arm as straight as possible. And just take 3 or 4 really deep breaths while we're doing that. And then we'll switch to the other side. I'll try not to talk too much while you're taking your deep breaths, but this is just a great stretch when you've been sitting at your computer and typing for a long time. So it might be something you like to mix and match and use throughout the day. So next we'll do the seated cat-cow stretch. So sit in your chair with your legs hip-width apart and your feet flat on the floor. And place your hands on your knees. And inhale slowly And then slowly arch your back and roll your shoulders back and down. And as you exhale, slowly reverse that position. Round your shoulders forward, round your spine. Let your head drop down as your chin moves towards your chest. And now we'll open up again, breathe in and stretch back. Then exhale and roll forward. And we'll do one more with your breaths again. In and out. Fantastic. I can sense that I'm not very good at narrating these things because I'm joining in at the same time. So, but it is nice to be able to get to do it at the same time. Now we'll do a seated spinal twist. So sit sideways in your chair so that the back of your chair is on the left side of your body. And sit again with your legs. I know this is like testing everything, isn't it? It's a cognitive and physical challenge. So have your legs hip width apart again, feet flat on the floor. And then inhale, and then as you exhale slowly, twist your upper body towards the back of the chair, as Michaela is, pulling your right hip back gently and making sure that your spine stays tall and only go as far as it feels comfortable. So inhale while you're holding the pose, then exhale and slowly bring yourself back to your seated position. And then we will switch to the other side. And do the same movement again. So get yourself comfortable and anchored, then breathe in, and as you exhale, take that stretch around to the back of the chair. And hold it for a few seconds, then inhale back. And then hopefully you're feeling a nice stretch across your chest and your upper back there. We've got 2 more to go. The last one, second last, is hip openers. So again, sit straight in your chair with your legs hip width apart, your feet flat on the floor, and then bring, this is where you've got to concentrate, your right ankle up onto your left knee. Thanks, Michaela. Keep your weight as even as you can, but softly pull your right knee towards the floor. But if your shin's not parallel with the floor, that's okay. It only means that you've got a bit of tightness in your hips, and we all have different variations there. So make sure your hips are level, that all of your bottom is touching the chair. Don't lift one side, and just hold it for a little while. If you want to take the stretch a little further, you can hinge forward at your hips, and that can feel really nice as well. So just hold that for about 3 deep breaths. I tend to, after a lot of practice, breathe very slowly and deeply, so I try to not count my breaths because I know that makes people do it a little bit too slowly. Swap to the other side and do exactly the same thing. So set yourself up well, make sure that your whole bottom is on the chair, got your left leg up this time. Gently see if you can get that knee lower to the floor, and then if you feel comfortable, hinge forward, or if not, just stay upright and take 2 or 3 really deep breaths. Well done. I don't know if that caused some pain, but or some enjoyment. Hopefully some enjoyment. That's the goal here, isn't it? And the last one is shoulder openers, which is absolutely fantastic. I love this one again after sitting a long time at the computer. So you would normally do this at a desk. So obviously you've got the table, which is nice. So you stand up about 1 metre behind you and the table. So just give yourself a little bit of space. Inhale. Raise your hands above your head, shoulder width apart, and then with a straight back, just hinge from your hips, bend forward, lowering your back towards the desk or the table as you exhale. And your hands should rest on the table or the desk or the back of the chair, whatever you can reach right now. And you can have straight legs, or if your hamstrings need it, just give yourself a little bit of a bend in your legs. And you should feel like your legs and back are forming a right angle with the desk or the chair, With each exhale, see if you can reach your hands further forward or move your feet back a little bit, ever so slightly, till you feel that really nice stretch through your chest and your upper back. If you feel comfortable, hold that for 2 or 3 breaths. If you don't wish to, feel free to come out of that pose and sit back down. All right. Thank you for joining in, everyone. And as you can see from that, you don't have to do all of those exercises at once. So if you've only got 2 or 3 minutes, you might just want to do the hand stretch and then that big desk stretch at the end. But mix and match and find what feels comfortable for you. So I'm going to hand over to Michaela, who's going to give a little bit of a run through about what we know about mindfulness and why it's so important to our mental health and managing our well-being.
Thanks for joining in, everyone. So we wanted to start with a little bit of movement and a little bit of what could be a mindfulness-based exercise. Obviously, you're moving with your bodies and doing something in an environment that's a little bit unusual and strange. So that probably all makes us really feel present and aware of ourselves, which can make sometimes us feel a bit uncomfortable. But of course, it fits a lot with what we're talking about today, which is mindfulness. And I want to talk a little bit about how mindfulness can improve our well-being and help us maintain our well-being over time and some of the ways it can do that. But before we get into that, we should probably talk a little bit about what mindfulness is. It's a buzzword. It's used a lot in all sorts of different contexts, and it has a few different meanings as well because of its origin. Of course, it's been used for many thousands of years in the East, traditionally as a spiritual practice, but it's come to the West in the last few decades and it has sort of become popular in the psychology space as a way to improve our well-being. And essentially, mindfulness practices are anything that bring our attention into the here and the now. And they do this, and also from a perspective of non-judgment and acceptance, and that's a key thing, because we can be really present, but we can also at the same time be really critical and really judgmental towards ourselves and others. But mindfulness tries to instead cultivate this state of acceptance and kindness towards ourselves. And mindfulness practices, you guys just did one, are anything that cultivate this sort of sense of presence of mind. So meditations, yoga practices, it could be mindful walking in nature, breathing exercises, all sorts of things. And there's a whole lot of research to show that mindfulness practices do improve our mental health and well-being, and they make us more resilient to the stresses that we face in our daily lives and throughout our whole lives. So practicing a little bit of mindfulness here and there can do a lot in terms of promoting our well-being. So I want to talk today about 3 of the mechanisms that mindfulness can improve mental health by: psychological, physiological, and neurobiological. And I'll just give an example from each. The first I want to go into is psychological. And in particular, I want to talk about self-compassion, which will relate to the exercise that Alex will take us all through to finish today. So self-compassion is essentially what it sounds like. It's being kind to ourselves, being compassionate to ourselves. And often we're a lot more kind or compassionate to other people, and we're our own worst critics. So mindfulness practices cultivate or increase our levels of self-compassion. And of course, the research shows that people who are more self-compassionate are more resilient in the face of stresses that they may come up against in their lives. They have better mental health in general, lower levels of depression symptoms, anxiety symptoms, lower reported levels of stress, more happiness. One really telling example is about returned veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq, and their levels of self-compassion essentially predicted whether they would develop post-traumatic stress disorder or not. And this is when those individuals are matched in terms of how much trauma they've been exposed to. So our levels of self-compassion can be really powerful in terms of actually helping us protect against or helping us promote our own well-being. So doing some things to help sort of cultivate that or build self-compassion is really, really powerful. And another thing is stress. We all have it. It's inevitable in our lives. And the research shows that people who practice mindfulness tend to be more resilient in the face of stress. And this happens in a few ways. One is that they tend to get less stressed as difficult things come their way. And another is that they tend to recover more quickly after a stressful event has taken place. And of course, the stress response in the body is really important. It's designed to help us survive. So if we have, say, a truck racing towards us really quickly and we've got to jump out of the way. The body undergoes this response where it will do things like our pupils will increase to let in more light so we can see better, or our heart rate increases to get more oxygen to the muscles so we can move faster. We have an increase in certain hormones like cortisol, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, to give us energy so that we have energy available so that we can actually move out of the way of that stressor. But the thing is, the stressors that we experience, they're not just external. Often they're in our minds. It could be getting up and doing a silly stretch in front of all of these people that in an environment that's a bit strange. That can make us feel stressed. It can also make us feel happy. But a big thing that determines that is often how we think or how we feel about it. So this ties back into those psychological processes from before. How compassionate are we to ourselves and other people in that moment? So the problem comes when we have persistent activation of this fight or flight response, because some of these hormones, for example, that are designed to protect us can, if they're elevated for too long, cause damage to certain brain regions that are involved in the regulation of mood and emotion, like the hippocampus, which I'll also touch on a little bit later. And so because mindfulness practices means that we don't tend to get as stressed, both in terms of how we experience our stress or report our stress, but also in terms of how the body actually responds to that stress. And because we're able to return more quickly to our state of calm after a stressful event has passed, it means that we don't spend as much time in that stress-like state. So mindfulness practices can be really helpful to help us keep calmer, essentially, and not be so wound up or so tightly wound. One example of this is in university students who are, or in this study, they were allocated to 2 yoga groups. One was a mindfulness-based group, and another was just an exercise-based yoga group. And then a third group was filling out surveys. A little bit boring, arguably also a little bit stressful. And essentially, the individuals who were in the yoga groups were shown to have decreases in symptoms of depression and also decreases in their self-reported levels of stress. But the ones that were in the mindfulness group also had decreases in the levels of cortisol, that stress hormone that can also damage the brain, and also decreases in their self-reported levels of anxiety symptoms. And the last thing I want to touch on is neurobiological. So I want to talk a little bit about the hippocampus. The hippocampus is a brain region that's involved in a number of things, and one of these is the regulation of mood and emotion. And we see that in individuals that have depression or post-traumatic stress disorder, for example, that they tend to have smaller hippocampi that tends to be damage to that brain region. And individuals who practice mindfulness, such as meditation or yoga, also show changes in this area of the brain, but in the opposite direction. So they tend to show an increase in the volume of this area of the brain, and they tend to show increased function in this area of the brain. So this is one of the ways that mindfulness practices are thought to contribute to improve mental health is through improved emotional regulation by affecting the hippocampus. So the hippocampus, while it can be damaged, that damage is also reversible. And an interesting fact is that when people take selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are an antidepressant, SSRIs, people may have heard of, that are very commonly used, after about 3 weeks of taking these, people tend to show an increase in the volume of the hippocampus. So this is one of the methods via which these antidepressants are thought to improve mood and emotion, or decrease anxiety feelings as well. So essentially, these structural changes, functional changes in the brain, the psychological changes that we see, and some of the physiological changes that we see are all working together in our mindfulness when we engage in mindfulness practices to make us more resilient to stressful things that come in our lives and improve our well-being and our mental health. So essentially, if we can integrate just a little thing here and there, maybe 2 or 3 minutes a day or whatever it may be, it can have a big impact in terms of increasing our resilience. And so now I'm going to handball back to Alex, who can take us through a self-compassion exercise.
Thanks, Michaela. And I think, as Michaela mentioned, what the evidence is showing is that it's such a complex interaction and the benefits that you get from mindfulness. But one of the things that does put people off is this idea that it takes a lot of time or a lot of repeated practice. And like any skill, yes, the more that you do it, the more benefits you are going to get. But some of the latest evidence is showing that even micro moments of mindfulness have benefits. So maybe it is a minute or two. It might be when you're, brushing your teeth. You might choose to walk out if you've got a window that you can see outside and look at the trees while you're brushing your teeth. Or think of some body sensations while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. Notice what's happening in your stomach or in your chest, or where you can feel any anxiety or stress. And just tuning into some things like that can be some simple techniques that you can do throughout the day as well that build that mindfulness connection. But briefly, because I know that we are fast running out of time, we'll do a guided meditation to quieten our inner critic as we finish up today. So we've chosen this one today because as we have eased out of COVID-19 restrictions, but we also are now getting back into perhaps more of our regular routines. We might find ourselves thinking about a lot of things of what we need to get done over the next few months. Maybe we're reflecting on things that we had aimed to do over the past 12 months that got disrupted or weren't possible. Maybe we didn't get around to starting or finishing a lot of things, and perhaps these are work-related or small or large tasks. Whatever it is, it might be that we haven't, tended to our vegetable patch that we were aiming to do, or catching up with some of friends or relatives. But we'll work in managing those critical thoughts or those judgmental thoughts today by engaging in a meditation. So nearly everyone can recognise their inner critic, that judgmental voice inside us that heckles us or cuts us down, and whatever we do isn't enough. And during these times when we would like to be kind to ourselves or kind to ourselves like we would to a best friend, we become down on ourselves instead. And this push for perfect can be exhausting, but often avoidable with practice. So rationalising what is basically an irrational habit doesn't help much. So the critic is like, and this is showing my age, but the two old guys on the balcony in the Muppet Show that are endlessly deriding what happens without any reason at all. So reasoning with our inner tyrant actually validates it as if it deserves our attention, when mostly it's just an unhelpful pattern of thinking that we've picked up along the way. So through practice, we aim to give our self-judgment less energy and thought, labelling it briefly in our minds, such as, oh, there's that judgmental thought again, or there's that self-doubt. We notice it, and then we can shift our attention to somewhere else instead, and we're not forced into debating it either. So to start this practice, again, I welcome you to join in. You may wish not to, and that's fine as well, but begin by focusing on your breathing. And if you feel comfortable, feel free to shut your eyes while we do this. So just notice the physical sensation of breathing in and then breathing out. As best you're able, find yourself a posture of ease and strength. So however you're feeling right now, leave these things alone for a few minutes, and if your attention wanders, bring it back to your breathing in and out. So for many of us, just sitting here, trying not to think of anything, is already enough to bring some self-judgment to mind. You might start thinking, I'm not very good at this, or I should be doing this more often, or countless other ways that judgment can find its way into our lives. If nothing about judgment comes to mind right now, then that's great. But for this brief practice today, reflect on somewhere in life where you do feel judged. So at school, at work, as a parent or a friend or a student or a child. Maybe something that's happened in your life recently. And notice first how judgment is more than a single thought. It may affect how you feel. You might get an emotional reaction with tension or unease in your body. It may influence your emotional state. Then notice where your thoughts go when you're experiencing this kind of self-criticism and the patterns you fall into under this kind of stress. So for the next few minutes, we're going to practice leaving that voice of judgment or that inner critic alone. So stop wrestling with it, appeasing it, or pushing it away. Label it if you want, judgment, or give it a specific name if you prefer. Recognise what it feels like to you, and then let it be. Now on each breath as you sit, acknowledge whatever you're experiencing right now in your body, your emotions, your thoughts. Nothing to fix or change. This is just what's going on for you right now. And on each out breath, offer yourself relief. Wish yourself what you would a close friend with the same doubts. Set an intention in an unforced way, breathing out, breathing in. Wishing yourself relief or strength or humour or joy, whatever else feels appropriate. Breathing in, this is how things are. Breathing out, focusing on ease or whatever else comes to mind. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Well, that is the end of our session today. I'm pleased to say that there's many opportunities for you to find more mindfulness ideas online. You know, they've got great resources on Beyond Blue, on Black Dog, a whole range of things that you can look up, Headspace. And also we've got some of the sessions that we recorded for our VU11s program last year that are available online as well on our VU website. So if there's any recordings like that that you'd like to try, and also some great physical activity sessions as well, please have a look and give them a shot. But thanks so much for having Michaela and I here today. It's been an absolute pleasure to join you. And hopefully it just gives you, if you haven't done anything like this before, a bit of a taste of how easy it could be to integrate this if you've got 5 or 10 minutes, which everyone does. It's just about how we choose to allocate our time throughout the day. So thanks everyone, and good luck with the rest of the year. Did you want to say anything else?
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Alex and Michaela, for doing this for us today. We'll head to our final workshops now, and after that, we come back here for the closing keynote. Thank you.